Albert Awol, the voice of the jungle, broadcasting on the DVC to all points unknown. If you're within the sound of my voice, you're listening to Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Hello and welcome home. This episode of Welcome Home is brought to you by DVC Rental Store. Thank you for joining us on episode 253 of Welcome Home, a Disney Parks and Vacation Club podcast. I'm Tom. I'm here with Trevor. Trevor's back from his trip.
Yes, I'm back and I'm ready to go. It was a great trip. It was it was super fun. Well, we will get into that in a minute. But Tom, you had an update on the contest, right?
Yeah. So I have to say, sometimes Trevor, I think sometimes I don't want to say we're like in a weird bubble of where we think that nobody listens to anything that we talk about.
we underestimate the reach that we have.
Yes. We received a shocking amount of emails. Thank you to everybody that sent in your contest email. Please know that just because I haven't responded to it doesn't mean that I haven't received it. We have received all of the emails from everybody. We are going to give everybody another couple days here to enter the contest. So go back and listen to the past couple episodes to get the special words for the contest. And we will give you till the end of February. And, you actually get an extra day because it's a leap year, right? So you get February 29th in there. So
bonus day.
Bonus day.
That is special.
That is special. And so we're going to make that the deadline. So all the way to the end of the day on the 29th. And then we will pick the winner at random that weekend, and we will announce it on the next podcast episode. So, yeah, I just want everybody to know, because a lot of people are like, oh, did I email in too late or, whatever. So, listen, if you emailed, we got your email, you're counted, you're good to go. We will, like I said, we'll give you a couple more days. If you haven't emailed yet, just, reach out to us and we'll enter you in. So it's contest@welcomehomepodcast.com. Is where you can enter. You just send us those 3 words that we had in the previous episode. So, yeah.
All right.
But Trevor, I mean, contest aside, you just had a very long vacation. It was great. I appreciated your wife posting a lot of updates in the group and everything. I was like eagerly following along with her posts.
Oh yeah, she was fantastic. Yeah, big shout out to my wife for that. I was posting as well from the Welcome Home page, but then my wife was doing such a good job with it. We were just kind of like, okay, she's posting updates, people were responding to it and everything. So it was nice to even she wasn't even telling me all the time when she was posting, like, because,
she's just doing it.
well, because part of it was and we talked about this before I left, is that the way that we do things is that me and my son will do the faster rides that my wife can't do. And so she'll be like, she's off doing her own rides, and she had like lots of character meets and stuff like that. But so we would have time apart. And I think part of that was, she would be like people watching or whatever. And then she would start posting, making posts. And then like, I would go on a ride with my son, come back, and it's like, oh, there's a post from my wife. Oh, okay.
That's funny.
So, it was good. So, I guess to get into it. So, I'll
start from the beginning.
Yeah. I'll start from the beginning. So we came, or actually, okay. Let's recap first on. I talked about a couple of things that we were doing on the episode before I left, with transportation and food delivery.
Yeah.
So I'll start with food delivery because I was actually pleasantly surprised. I'd used this vacation grocery delivery site, which is they're former cast members that like formed their own business due to COVID and all that, and they just do delivery to like Dizzy Dolphin or any of those other services. They were very communicative with me. I actually really liked that. It was actually the day before I left. I was getting text from the shopper, and they said, hey, I've got your order. And then they were looking and they were like, oh, I can only find this thing. Do you want me to change it? Do you want me like they were making sure that I got everything that I wanted.
That's nice.
On the list. Yeah, it was very nice because the way that I they ask for as much detail as possible, but also that, they make sure that you understand it's like, hey, you're not, things will be sold out. Things will be, not always available. Like even things like we had ordered English muffins, and they're like, they have them, but the only ones they have apparently need to be refrigerated. I'm guessing maybe they were like organic or something.
I was going to say, like, what kind of English muffins need to be refrigerated? That's weird.
Yeah, I was like, okay, and they're like, are you okay with that? I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, I'll just throw them in the fridge with, which again, it was not a big deal, right? So,
yeah.
But again, very, very communicative, and the cost for everything it came pretty close to the quote that I had. Because I'd emailed them beforehand saying, like, here's what I'm looking to order. And they gave me a quote. They were actually really close on the quote, which I was happy about. And yeah, they had everything, clearly labeled. It was not an issue getting that from or getting it from Bell Services. It seems like I was questioning it at first because I was like, this is a newer thing. Sometimes newer companies, they don't always handle things the way that I guess you should expect them to, especially dealing with Disney, right? Like, that they would just like, throw them in a corner and you'd never find your groceries or whatever. It was
that's what happened to me. Remember, Amazon just left my stuff like randomly in the lobby. Like, which I guess is funny is that, a bigger company you would think would be more on top of it, but these guys definitely put a lot of care into it. So, definitely they're on my list for the next time we go. And also, I'll say too that like we'd ordered produce, like we had like apples and bananas and stuff. They actually made sure like it was, how sometimes like you can go shopping and like, the apples are questionable. Like, you know what I mean, right? My daughter loves strawberries, and like when strawberries are not in season, all the strawberries we get are very questionable.
Yeah, right. But everything we got was like, it was solid. Like you could tell that whoever was doing the shopping, they weren't just like grabbing stuff and throwing it in the bin. They were, making sure
care.
Yeah. I wanted to make sure that, I was getting bananas, but it wasn't like, I don't want these bananas to go bad in 2 days kind of thing. So
yeah, I get that.
So they were, I was really happy with them. So I definitely recommend them for, and, hoping that by the time we go on our next trip, they're still around. Not to say like, you just never know, right? Some smaller businesses, don't always work out, but I'm definitely keeping them on my list for grocery delivery in the future. And so that was very smooth. And I guess the overall theme of this trip was everything went really smooth.
It seemed like it did. It seemed like you guys had a really good trip, which is great because the past couple trips for you guys have not been great. So
yeah, exactly. So this was like night and day difference, and that was like the start of it. Like even before we left, it was like, oh, they were already doing my grocery stuff, and they're like, yeah, we'll have this all ready to go. It'll be at Bell Services. I was like, great, thank you. Like it was very like, it was sorted. And I knew like, as soon as I got there, it was like, I made the call to Bell Services. They brought it down, done. Like there was no issues with it. Right.
Nice. Yeah.
The next thing was we had used Mears Connect for getting to and from the airport. And so for anybody that doesn't know, Mears, or the backstory is Mears used to run Magical Express. The contract got terminated with Disney. Mears continued to run their bus service, but then there was another service that started up called Sunshine Flyer. Sunshine got bought by Mears, and now it's Mears Connect run by Sunshine, which, super complicated and all that.
Yeah. But it seems like they really didn't need to do that, but whatever.
But it's funny because it said that all over everything. Like it was very clear, like Mears Connect run by Sunshine. And the funny thing was, or the funny and the good thing was, it actually felt very much like the Magical Express.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, for anybody that, talks about, that feeling of, the Disney bubble and kind of getting to the airport and getting there and all that. We showed up, it was like in the same spot where the Magical Express was. Obviously, you have to pay for it, which, a lot of people, gripe about, but I was like, yeah, the cost was still better than getting like a
limo or something.
Yeah. Getting a limo or something like that. So yeah, It was town car.
Town car, yeah.
That's what I was looking for. Yeah, not a limo, but a town car.
I mean, yeah, you can, yeah.
But so it was again, very quick. We got to the booth. They give you a QR code, and actually the nice thing was, again, from a communication standpoint, they texted me the boarding QR codes like before I left, and then same thing coming back. Like I had them like a day before, so it was just like bring it up on my phone, scan the QR code, and then they're like, "Yep, you go line up at this lineup," and then we got onto our bus. The buses, they're very well kept buses. Like I was kind of worried. It was like, is this going to be like an old it's the Magical Express buses, but they haven't kept them up kind of thing.
Yeah, they stopped cleaning them.
yeah, right. But that wasn't the case at all. Like they were very nicely kept. They still had the monitors, and the funny thing was they were running cartoons on the bus, like how they would on the Magical Express.
Yeah,
but they were what was it called? They were the older, like, not Disney cartoons, but like RKO radio cartoons, like ones that are now public domain, right?
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, so I was like, I noticed that. I was like, that's a very creative way to approach this, is that, it's still Disney-esque looking cartoons, but not Disney cartoons, because then they don't have to
pay for it.
Yeah, they don't have to explain or pay for it or anything. And so, yeah, that was kind of funny and nice. And then they also had they had a spiel on there where they were explaining, the buses all have different animals on the side, and they actually were giving educational bits on flamingos can be found here, and the manatee and all, so it was all like different animals that you could find at places in Florida. So
yeah,
so it was kind of nice that they were tying in here's some info about this animal. If you want to see this animal, you can go to SeaWorld, you can go to Epcot and Disney, stuff like that, which again, it was very almost like Disney, but you could see where it was definitely removed from Disney, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
But in terms of the actual transportation, it was pretty much what I expected. We weren't the first stop, so our bus it serviced all
for the express.
No, definitely not. If I was going to pay for the express, it would have worked out to about the same price as a town car. So
okay, that makes sense.
So the thing is that, and I also wanted to see, if it was better or worse than I remembered. And the nice thing was, and actually, sorry to back up, we on this trip, we because of COVID and everything, I actually had a bunch of credits that I had stored up with my or I've got a air miles or flight plan kind of thing going on.
Great. Yeah.
We had enough money stored up that we were able to fly premium this time, which means we actually got a meal on the flight.
Oh, nice.
And that actually, so previous flights, and this was something that I didn't realize how bad it really is. When you're flying for 5 hours in economy, and you're kind of shoved in whatever, by the time you get to the when you land at the airport, it's a very tiring day. Like you're kind of exhausted, and then to get on a bus, and when that bus has to go to 3 or 4 hotels, it feels like it takes forever to finally get to your hotel. But
because you just want to get there, you're like, it's been a day, I want to get there.
Yeah, right. But because we had actually, we had some food before we had landed and everything, we got on the bus, and it was so it went to Wilderness Lodge and went to Contemporary, and then went to the Polynesian.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I was like, okay, this isn't bad. And it was like, we were just sitting on the bus, and we were just, relaxing and chatting or whatever. And then we got to the hotel, and again, no issues, got into our room just fine. And yeah, I think that was probably the smoothest first day I've ever had getting there, which really kind of set the stage for the rest of the trip. Not to say that, I'll get into it. There was definitely some things that hiccuped a little for us, but overall, like these things kind of set the bookends of the trip, that, getting there and getting back, can be stressful, but when we took that stress away, it definitely made the rest of the trip easier to handle.
Yeah. I could see, 100%. I get that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we did our first day in Magic Kingdom. And so I learned very quickly how crazy the virtual queue system is.
What do you mean?
So obviously,
Had you not done it? You've done it before with Guardians, though, haven't you? Right? No.
Well, no, we did lightning lanes with Guardians. I never virtual queued before on the previous trip because of the hurricane and everything. We just didn't bother trying to do anything with virtual queue. We were doing lightning lanes, but this trip I was like, okay, we're gonna virtual queue stuff and see how that goes, right? So so the first day I woke up, I had my alarm set for 6:45 so that I had time to get up because everything opened at 7. I bought Genie Plus for that day because I knew that being Magic Kingdom and also knowing that it was a Sunday and all that, we definitely made use of Genie Plus. Like we used it to get onto a lot of rides. But then outside of that, I was trying to virtual queue Tron. And what happened was it was 7:00. I was looking at my phone. I was hitting refresh. The app lagged. And then when it refreshed, all the virtual queues were gone. Not even a minute. Like it was incredibly fast. And that kind of blew me away. I was like, whoa, I didn't expect it to be that bad. But then I was like, okay, fine. I learned my lesson there. We did get into the 1:00 queue. So
okay.
For the 1:00 queue, I realized I was like, okay, you gotta, I made sure that I listened to other people in the past where make sure you close the app, you refresh everything, you make sure that you're on data, not on Wi-Fi. I didn't take that, or I was like, yeah, I know all these things, but I didn't think it was that serious. And I found out very quickly on the first day. I was like, whoa, okay, virtual queue is serious business. You got to be on it, right?
You got to be on your game.
Yeah. So it got into the 1:00 one just fine. And so that was our first time riding Tron, which that got us, or actually, no, wait, sorry. That wasn't our first time riding Tron. What happened was because I couldn't get the virtual queue, I did book a lightning lane for Tron at like 11:30.
Oh, so you did an individual? Okay.
Yeah. So just to prefix this for anybody, yes, I did use a lot of lightning lanes, and I'll explain why as we get further into the trip. So I booked a lightning lane because my son, me and my son, like we were excited to ride Tron, and but then we got to Magic Kingdom. We did the usual stuff, like we got on Space Mountain, and I started booking, got us on Big Thunder and Pirates and Haunted Mansion, all that. Everything. It was a pretty busy weekend, but we were still, again, because of Genie Plus, it was actually saving us a lot of time. And that, and we were doing kind of, what we've talked about before is it's like, you book a Genie Plus, but then you find other stuff to do in between. Like we would, like we found wait times at that point, or like earlier in the morning, it was like, hey, I can get on Small World in 15 minutes and whatnot. So we were doing that. We rode Tron the first time. And, so I think I was in line for Tron, and I was talking on Discord with a couple of people. Yeah. And I believe it was Dan K said that we should go for front row. So I did a little bit of science. So he said, get front row. And I was like, okay, I'll, noted. But then I talked to my son and we were just there. He's like, I don't care. I just want to get on this ride. Like he was just excited to get on it. And so we just got in. The first time we rode it, we just took whatever row they gave us, which I think we were like third or fourth row, which was
so you weren't too far back. Yeah,
yeah, wasn't too big of a deal. The ride was phenomenal, and like everybody said, it's an amazing ride. So much fun, but I wish it was longer. Like
that's what everyone says. Yeah,
it's a little too quick. But so we got on it. And, my son loved it. And then, of course, so I was trying to get in, or I got us into the virtual queue for the afternoon. And it worked out that our boarding group, we were like 110 or something like that, which worked out that we were back, or our boarding group got called at like between 6 and 7 o'clock. So,
oh wow, so pretty late.
Yeah. Yeah, which was again, because it was kind of busy, that was to be expected.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about the boarding groups is that, or the thing, I don't like the fact that it's very quick to book up, but also that if you book for a boarding group, you're kind of waiting around for it.
Yeah, I get
if that makes sense. Like yeah. And this, this is things that people know about is, it's a virtual line. So it's like you're basically putting yourself in line. But the problem is it's like, we were talking about like, oh, do we want to, or, we want to watch the fireworks, but then we were like, oh, but, do we go find a place for the fireworks? We weren't quite sure if we should be doing that because we weren't sure if our queue was going to be called at the same time the fireworks was going on. Right. So it kind of was messing with our plans a little bit. I feel that, Disney has some work to do with the virtual queue system, but I also understand that, it's just these couple of rides. Like it's not everything, but it definitely highlights, when there's lots of demand for a ride, that it doesn't, it doesn't feel good when, that's the thing you want to do. And it feels like you have to jump through 50 hoops to get there, or that you have to basically like shelve like hours of your day because, or not shelve, but like that you can't, that you can't like, do what you really want to do. Or if you, or, even like later in the trip, it was, we were, talking about like, hey, we want to go to a different park, but it was like, if we're in the virtual queue, you don't want to go to a different park because like it actually limits park hopping, or it stops you from park hopping if you're in the queue because you don't want to miss your queue being called. Right.
Yeah.
And even at that, like, the fact that you have an hour to get back, it's like, it sounds like, oh, if I'm at Epcot, I could get back to Magic Kingdom in an hour. Maybe.
Yeah. It depends if you get lucky or not.
Yeah, exactly. Like there is a lot of, there is a lot of factors to it. And I feel like the virtual queue is it can be a little overwhelming. So,
sure.
So yeah, that was our first experience with the virtual queue. And so, yeah, the Monday we were entirely, or sorry, not the Monday, the Sunday we were entirely at Magic Kingdom. And, yeah, so like I said, it was a good day. We kind of, or I knew what to expect for the most part. Like I said, the virtual queue threw me for a loop. Then the next day we were going to Epcot. So the Monday was Epcot, but we also had the evening. Was it the
after
extra magic? Right? Yeah, the after hours party. Yeah. So we started off the morning in Epcot. This time I was prepared, and I did get us into. I got us into like group 40 on Guardians.
Oh, nice.
So. Again, the concern there, and I know that Disney's pretty good about this, but we had a booking at Garden Grill on the Monday at like 11:30, and I was worried about the Garden Grill and Guardians, conflicting with one another. Thankfully, that wasn't the case. It actually, like, I think we got onto Guardians at about 12:30, and it was. And so, yeah, it was, or actually, sorry. First of all, for Garden Grill, good meal as we usually expect it to be. One of the things that it kind of highlighted for me very early on in the trip was how quickly my son was growing up.
Oh yeah.
So here comes the fun part of the trip was that. So the previous trip, even though that was like a year and a half ago, the thing about that trip was that my son was, he was still in that like almost preteen kind of space, and he was, he was still a little bit younger, a little bit more, willing to engage with characters and stuff like that. And also on that trip, like we said earlier, we all got sick that trip. There was a hurricane, so. I kind of forgot, or I still had it in my head that like when my son was like 10 and we were doing these trips, and when we got to Garden Grill, we all sat down and everything. And then, we said hi to the characters, but my son was like, I'm not, don't ask me to get up to like take pictures with all these characters. Like he was like, he was like, I'll do it once and then I'm done kind of thing. And we were like, oh, like, okay, I guess that, it wasn't awkward, but it would definitely, I was like, right, he's a teenager now. It's, it very much changes your perception of how you do things at Disney. Right. And the funny thing is that, because of that, like it was very much the flip from, it used to be, you get excited about seeing Stitch or certain characters and, doing those character meets. And a lot of mine and his conversations were like, so when are we getting on Guardians next? Or when are we doing Tron next? Like he was just all about the big fast rides. Yeah. Which is fair. Like, that's why we were there. And so yeah, we did Garden Grill, and then we got on Guardians. We finally got September as the song on Guardians. It was our first time we were talking about the songs, and I said to my son, because my son really wanted Everybody Wants to Rule the World. That's his favorite song. And that's actually, we agreed that that's a tie for like the first or the best song between those two. But then we got September, and I was super excited. And he was like, that was really good. And then, we had the virtual queue, and then we did a lightning lane, again in the afternoon, and we got September again.
Nice.
but the funny thing about the second time, and we went back and we looked at the photos. There was a lady behind us that screamed the entire ride and actually drowned out the song. Like,
seriously?
Yeah, like
screamed
to the point.
That loud?
Yes.
Wow.
And she didn't stop. Like I think she took maybe 2 breaths through the entire ride. And it was to the point, like, me and my son got off at the end, and we were looking at each other, and we're like, my ears hurt. Like not because of the ride, but because of this lady screaming, which, I get, she was clearly, I don't know if she was that like surprised or whatever, but I get, everybody has their own ways that reacts to rides and whatnot, but I don't know, that was like, you don't need to scream
genuine or over the top. Like,
yeah. You don't need to scream so loud that, nobody around you can hear what's going on. Yeah. But yeah, so outside of that, it's still a great ride and everything. That first night we stayed, or we watched the opening show not the opening show, but the show on Spaceship Earth. So like we did actually, we went into the center area and we watched that. And
you went to the new gardens area.
Yeah. And so, we watched the ball and they did the music and everything. And we watched it at dusk. And I didn't realize that they were doing the other shows, because like, remember, like they did Rainbow Connection. With Kermit and the Figment show. They were running all 3 of them.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
And and it made sense. I didn't think about it until afterwards, because it was Festival of the Arts. It made sense that they were doing those. But we only caught the first one the first night. But then that night we weren't in Epcot too late, because we went back to Magic Kingdom for the after hours party. So
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so we got to see the Epcot or the garden and everything all lit up, which is just phenomenal. By the way, like it
looks amazing in pictures. I'm sure that great in person, right?
You'll love it. Like my wife actually, there was a couple of times where we went to go ride Guardians and she was waiting for us, and she was just like, I'll just be here in the garden enjoying this. Like that was that was good enough.
Yeah, that's great. That's good to hear.
So now we went back to Magic Kingdom that evening, and so I posted in the group yesterday a 20-minute wait time for Tron, which some people guessed that, yes, that was during the after hours party, is that they were posting wait times for it. And of course I took a screenshot because I thought it was funny that it's like, you'll never see, like right now, there's no way you would ever see 20-minute wait for Tron, because 1, it's virtual queue, and 2, even if it wasn't, why would it ever be 20 minutes? But,
exactly. Yeah.
So
how many times did you ride it during after hours?
3.
Oh, nice.
And so I actually found out something about myself, that I can only ride that ride 3 times in a day.
It's okay.
And the big reason for that is that it's actually very hard on your neck.
Oh, because of the position that you're in?
The position you're in, and you're kind of trying to look around and look up, and the ride is like pushing you down. So it was kind of hard on the neck. When we went back that time, I did start asking for front row, which they do have a separate line for front row, and
which makes sense.
Yeah, and to Dan's recommendation, the front row is a totally different game. Like it's because you can actually like you're just like leaning out over the track, like there's nothing in front of you. It feels very different than like riding further back in the coaster. So after that, every time we rode it after that, we were asking for front row because it was just that good. But yeah, by the third time, because what we did was when we got there in the evening, we were doing rides and stuff, and then we around 9:00, I went over towards Tomorrowland, and I went and I talked to some of the cast members, and I said, hey, we're here for the after hours party. Do we just line up like at 10:00 for this? Like, how does this work when the virtual queue ends? And they said, well, they got to clear out the virtual queue first, but so you don't just line up behind the virtual queue people. You like they do separate it. But they said if you're back here about like 10 minutes to 10, or like 10 minutes before the after hour starts, they will let you start queuing. Like they start queuing people at that point. So
okay,
we actually went back and we were like the 10th people in line when we got back there. So and by the time the after hours party started, there actually was a long lineup all the way back out to like where the sign was for Tron.
Oh, okay.
So I was thinking like, let's get it done quick, because knowing that it would be popular, the ride time would be long, and we didn't want to waste all of our time riding Tron. But yeah, of course. Yeah. The funny thing is that there was that initial burst. So we got on right away, rode it, and then we went back and we got as usual, they had like all the free, like we were eating popcorn and ice cream bars, and they were handing out free pop and water and stuff, or soda and water. Sorry.
I mean, listen, half the audience is pop. So,
so they were handing out free soda and water and everything. And we were just, we were loving it. It was, everything was like 5 to 10 minute wait. There was no lines, but then initially Tron had that, it was up to 45 minutes at the beginning. And so we were off, like we went and we did like Haunted Mansion and everything. And then I looked in the app and I was like, oh, it's down to, at the time it was like down to like 25 minutes. And so we went back into Tomorrowland, and then it was down to 20 minutes. And I was like, well, why would we not ride this? It's 20 minutes. So yeah, we did it a couple of times, and then
better at night, right? Is it better at night? Yeah.
Oh, it is. Yeah. Again, very different at night. It is, that area is super awesome at night, like even just being under the canopy, but then riding the ride, coming out of the launch and having the canopy all lit up is awesome. So
I feel like that's one of those ones that's like better at night. Like I just want to hang out there at night.
It is,
check it out. So
yeah, I took some video of it at night. I'll share one of the videos with you. Like it's so cool. So we did that, and we ran sorry, I forgot one thing in here. I'm looking at my notes as I'm doing this.
You took extensive notes.
So we watched, so a couple of things. We watched, we watched Happily Ever After. Happily Ever After is, great. And it was nice to get a refresher on it because I hadn't watched it in a while.
It's been a while.
During the after hours party, they ran Enchantment. And
they did? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So we went back to the hub, and we were like, there wasn't a lot of people there. Like for, after hours parties are actually really good for that. So we walked like right into the hub, just, sat down, because everyone was just like sitting down watching Enchantment in the middle of the hub. It was kind of weird. Like seeing everybody sitting there was weird.
Sure. Yeah.
But, so we found a spot and we just watched it. Enchantment is, it's not a good show.
Well, that's why they stopped doing it, right? So.
Yeah, and I realized why, and I think this is something that maybe people will disagree with me. If you disagree with me on any of this, good. It's just my opinion. The biggest problem I found with Enchantment was that, Happily Ever After, there was a lot of rearrangement of existing music. So it was like songs that were, they were sung by different people than the original, people that sung the songs. but they were arranged in such a way that it all fit into the overarching feel of the fireworks show. Enchantment was a bunch of instrumentals, and it felt like, hey, you like Beauty and the Beast. Hey, you like Hercules. It didn't have any soul behind it. Where I
That's
realized
I've heard that the music was the problem in that show mainly.
Yeah, it did not feel good. Like we watched it, and it was like, and it was great. Like the projections on the castle were very nice, but it just felt very disconnected. And the funny thing too, and I remembered making note of this, was that the way that they paced the show, there was actually 3 different points where people thought the show was done and like started applauding as if the show was done, and then it continued on, which again just shows how badly the show was put together. So we'll come back to fireworks in a bit, because later on we did watch Luminous, but that was the big thing, is like, I understand why Enchantment was bad now, because I actually got a chance to properly watch it. And I'm glad that Happily Ever After is back. So
I'm surprised they were playing that during After Hours. Like, that's just odd to me.
It was kind of, I think it was kind of posed as a, hey, you get a different fireworks show, because they ran Happily Ever After earlier in the evening, and then Enchantment was run at 11.
It's just weird. Yeah, because usually, I mean, like, if they, I would assume they would have just moved on from that show, because it's obvious that they moved on from it because the guest feedback on it was not good, right? Like, and Disney does that. They usually don't keep things that are not going well, right? So
there was also less fireworks, which I feel maybe for After Hours Party might have been a budgetary thing, that it's a cheaper show to run. I don't know.
I could see that.
The last thing that I'll note that happened at the After Hours Party was we were over at Tiana's Bayou adventure, and I was kind of like looking, we were on Big Thunder and everything, but then I was looking through the area. This happened before the After Hours Party. We were actually waiting. We were over there to watch Happily Ever After, because we, like, at this point we know better than to go and try and stand in the hub during Happily Ever After. And we're like, hey, it's kind of quiet over here. There's not, because Splash Mountain's closed, we figured that, there wouldn't be a lot of people over here. So we went over there, and we were right. The bridge was pretty empty. But the fun thing was that they were filling the channel while we were there, and I actually got to watch them fill and drain the channel, like, while they were doing while Happily Ever After was going on.
Yeah, I've seen some pictures that they've got boats in the water now, and they've been testing.
Yeah. The thing that surprised me was how quickly. So when we got there before Happily Ever After started, it was empty. Like I didn't realize how deep the channel is where the boats go. Like, at some points it's like 8 feet deep, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was, I kind of looked down there, I was like, wow, that's really deep. And then, I saw water start coming in towards the beginning of Happily Ever After. And then we're watching the show, and then I turned around and the whole thing was full. So they filled that whole thing in 20 minutes, which to me is like, if you think about the amount of water that's going through there, that's kind of mind blowing. And then they started draining it again. Cause this was before they started doing the boat testing and all that. It was, they started draining it, and it was the same thing. Like that whole system that they have for filling and draining that ride is very quick. Like, if you think about, the sheer amount of water that's going through there, it's a very impressive system. And I was kind of glad that I got to, it's a little bit of that behind the magic thing, right? You don't normally get to see stuff like that.
Well, when I did the Keys to the Kingdom tour, they actually take you to behind Splash Mountain, where you can see like the whole system. Like, you can see where they keep all the water and where they like filter through and everything. And it is very impressive backstage.
Yeah. I can imagine. Like I said, just watching them doing the testing, I was like, I didn't expect to see anything like that, because, it's still all just scaffolding and everything up at the moment. But it was kind of neat to see them doing a little bit of stuff like that. So, okay. So we're on to Monday. The rest of this will go quicker, people. I promise. I know I've been talking a lot. We're only 2 days in.
People like trip reports, though. People ask us for more trip reports. So,
okay, so our next day was the Tuesday was at Hollywood Studios.
Oh.
This is where I'm gonna get some hate, I think.
Oh gosh.
Okay, so All right, let me start with the good stuff. So our plans at Hollywood Studios, we went to Primetime 50s, which they gave us way more food than any of us could eat, which was awesome. And you know, it was what I remember, you know, it was because we didn't do it on our last trip, or it got canceled because of the hurricane and everything. We were not able to do Primetime. So we did it this time. It was, you know, it was fantastic. The servers were amazing. They were actually going back and forth with one another, that like when they were clearing the plates, they were like leaving plates for one another and like, you know, saying like, oh, yeah, Auntie Jane over there is not doing her job. You know, tell her Uncle Dave said this. And so they were like, it was just, you know, it was a lot of fun. So
the fun you expect from 50s.
Exactly. Yeah. So, you know, absolutely love that. We did get on Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway in the morning.
Yeah.
And actually, I should mention, so Hollywood Studios, we did get Genie Plus, but we actually got the multi-day Genie Plus because we knew we were going back to Epcot in the evening that day. So we actually made use of, you know, park hopping and Genie Plus for that day. And so I did use Genie Plus to get on Mickey and Minnie's in the morning.
Oh, nice.
And my wife, so she came with us, but only for the pre-show because, you know, she watched ahead of time. And after I rode the ride, I understand why. There is definitely a couple of parts in the ride that for anybody with motion sickness,
I can see that. Yeah.
Like even I wasn't motion sick, but it definitely like it made you feel like, whoa, like I'm going really fast down a river and stuff like that. So
yeah, that one part in the under the sea part when you turn to the individual screens and like you go over the waterfall. Yeah, you really feel like you're going over a waterfall.
Yeah. So my wife didn't ride it, but the pre-show that was really, really cool. It was right. Yeah. the way that it you know it you or.
I don't think it's a spoiler at this point. Like,
I guess. The way the screen blows up, and it kind of, you know, it felt to me a lot like the Enchanted Tales with Belle thing. You know how like the door changes and all that. A
creative way to create a door. I don't know.
Yeah, and I would because I had not watched anything about it. I was like, you know, we're watching the short, and I was like, oh, that's cute, and all of a sudden it was like. I was like, oh, where did that come from? Like, we really enjoyed that. I did also like on that ride towards the end. It was a really great example of, you know, people talk about, you know, screens and projection technology and how it cheapifies the, you know, ride experience sometimes. I feel that ride is a great example of how it can actually enhance the experience because I noticed towards the end, or I mean, one, you know, throughout the ride, there's a lot of 2D, like it's the 2D characters, but they definitely give them a lot of depth and whatnot. But I noticed in the last room that how it changes from you're in like a factory into the forest, and how they actually made use of, it was a combination of projections and animatronics to make that happen, which I feel that is like that's a really great thing of, I hope that, or I mean, obviously Disney's doing that, but I hope that, you know, new rides in the future, you know, it's less like, you know, here's a bunch of screens showing like amazing stuff, and more of that, like, how do we incorporate the projections and the digital stuff into the ride, or into the ride and into other, you know, physical aspects of the ride, right?
The other one that's good too is when you're that same scene we're talking about where you go over the river, when you turn to the physical, you know, to the screen, and then when you turn back, the whole room is transformed, you know, to the under the sea.
Yeah. Again, there's a lot to that ride, and it's like I said, it's a really great example of you know what I feel the next generation of rides should be from a storytelling standpoint. To me, that ride was definitely the best storytelling experience that I've seen in a while, like of the new rides, right? Like, you know, obviously a lot of the rides have a lot of heart and a lot of story. But sometimes it feels, or certain rides, it feels like they fall flat, right?
Sure.
And this one was definitely, you know, it had that storytelling aspect to it. So, you know, for anybody that's wondering about Mickey and Minnie's that hasn't ridden it yet, like, it's definitely worth the wait. It's worth getting.
So
on
I'm
the
taking
ride.
that you enjoyed that ride a lot. That was
We did, yeah. I had a great time on it, and
it's just a fun
so
ride. It's hard not
yeah.
to like laugh and smile on that ride because it's just
Yeah, and even my son, going back to my son who is, being a teenager, and actually I should mention, a couple of times we asked my son, like he wasn't he wasn't smiling, but he was having a good time, and this was a hard thing, right? With teenagers, it's like, you know, they don't always wear their emotions on their sleeve, and so a couple of times we're like, "Are you okay? Like, are you bored? Do you want to leave?" And he's like, "No, I'm having a great time." He's like, "Just because I'm not smiling doesn't mean I'm not having a great time." But this was one of those rides, like when we got on and we got off, like he was like that was fun, like
Yeah.
he enjoyed that. So
Yeah.
so yeah, to me that that's definitely a really good ride if you can, even somebody who doesn't necessarily react to a lot of stuff or tries to not react, that they had a good time on it. So so we did that, and then you guys are going. I already saw some comments. Adam, in particular, I saw you commented how you're so mad at me for not riding Rise.
You didn't go on it? What?
We didn't ride Rise.
What are you doing?
Okay, so but okay, so here's what happened though, and well, but I think this is fair, and I think this is a comment on how the current system is working and how I don't feel it's working for everybody, right?
Okay.
So it was kind of a perfect storm of why we couldn't ride Rise. So first of all, we were at Magic Kingdom the night before until like 1 a.m. So there was no way we were getting up.
You weren't rope dropping.
Yeah. We weren't rope dropping Hollywood Studios, which, fine. We could have changed it to a different day, but we had our reservation at prime time. So it was like, we knew we were going to start the day later. I knew that I was not going to get, there was no virtual queue. So it was like, okay, so we're not rope dropping. But then I was like, well, I should be able to get a lightning lane. But the problem is that by the time I got up, which was at about 9 o'clock in the morning, they were all gone. Yeah. So I was like, well, this isn't happening. Right. And then the problem was, again, this goes back to, people talk about this from all the time that, sometimes it feels hard to be flexible at Disney or to be spontaneous. This is actually a good example of that. And it really is only because of the fact that it is like one of the new shiny rides. Like it didn't destroy our day or anything. But, by the time we got to the park and then, we did our reservation, we got on Mickey Minnie's, we looked at the time for Rise and it was like 120 minutes.
Of course.
But we also knew that we were going back to Epcot because we had plans to watch Luminous and, be there in the evening and all that. We also, because it was hotter, the earlier part of the week was hotter than it actually got cool towards the end of the week, which was nice for us. But because it was so hot, we were actually taking the approach of, we would spend the morning in a park and then go back to the hotel in the afternoon, have a nap or whatever.
Pool. Yeah, whatever.
And just rest and then go back in the evening so that we could stay later in the evening. The problem with that was that we really had a limited time at Hollywood Studios and we couldn't justify, waiting around there for 2 hours in the afternoon when we had it was going to derail all of our other plans just to get on Rise.
No,
and
listen, I probably wouldn't wait 2 hours for any ride. So I get you.
Yeah. And that was the thing too, is, talking to my son, part of it too is, it's not just about me, it's about my son too. I said, hey, do you want to do this? And he's like, I really don't care. And he was like, but we're going to go on Guardians. Right. So, it's a matter of priorities. Right. And that's not to say and I know everybody says, Rise is an amazing ride and I will ride it eventually. But I also had to be mindful of, the other people in my party that, my son, like you said, he doesn't want to stand in line for 2 hours and I don't blame him. I don't want to stand in line for 2 hours either. And neither of us are that big of Star Wars fans at this point where we felt like we had to derail everything else to do it. We did talk about, possibly coming back another day to do it. So, because we did have other days at Epcot and we we're like, well, maybe we could go from Epcot, get on the Skyliner, go over, do that, and come back. But then again, we started talking about the logistics of it. And after we had ridden the Skyliner from, we'd gone from Hollywood Studios. We actually kind of went the long way back when we went back to the hotel, because we actually did get on the Skyliner, went back to Epcot. Or actually, no, wait, sorry, we didn't go back to the hotel that day. Sorry, we had the plan.
You're going to mix up some days. It's okay.
Yeah. So sorry. We didn't go back to the hotel that day. What happened was, again, because we had been in Hollywood Studios, but we knew we wanted to go to Epcot in the evening. That was when I'd actually posted from the DVC lounge. So,
okay.
So what we did was we went from Hollywood Studios, we went to Epcot, and we said, instead of going all the way back to the hotel, let's make use of the lounge. So we went to the lounge. We sat in there for like 2 hours and just, recharged. They had lots of snacks. It was great. And then in the evening we went to, we stayed in Epcot and all of that. So, like I said, because of all that though, that's what we didn't ride.
It's fair. It's fair.
And I'm sorry that I've disappointed so many people by not riding Rise. And I know you guys love it, and I'm sure I will love it too, but we loved Guardians and we loved Tron just as much.
I do feel like though, if your son went on it, that he might have the same reaction to it as he has to Guardians. It's different though. It's not a roller coaster, but it is like, it's one of those rides too that goes by so fast, and like there's so much of it. Like there's so many details that like every time you go on it, you can see different stuff. So like I get that though. It just didn't work out, and it's still one of those rides that has crazy long lines. So
yeah, and this did bring up a bigger issue too. I'm going to soapbox a little bit about Hollywood Studios.
You've been doing that for the past couple shows.
I know, but now that I've fully experienced it again, because it's been so long, and I thought maybe my perception was skewed because of not being there in a long time. Hollywood Studios has a really bad problem with not enough in between rides.
Yeah, well, you talked about that,
right?
It's basically extreme or not extreme, right? It's and it was, the only in between is like Star Tours, maybe.
and even at that, that ride, like my son didn't even want to stay around for any of that, like, because we actually sat down at, like, after we got Mickey and Minnie's, we were like, okay, we could go line up for Tower of Terror, which again, wasn't great. And the problem, the other problem too, is with the Genie Plus. Again, this comes back to, how overtaxed that park is sometimes. Yeah. I was looking at Genie Plus bookings, and it was like 12:30, and the earliest one I could find was 5:30. So again, it was like, am I going to wait around here all afternoon just to ride Tower of Terror? Yeah. Or do we cut our losses and go to Epcot? Right. And that was kind of where the decision point was, is that, we started looking at it. It was like, there was too many big hitter things going on there, and there wasn't anything in between to keep us engaged. And again, this is just for my family. I'm not saying that, there's nothing to do at Hollywood Studios. I know that there's shows and all that kind of stuff, but there is something to be said for those people eater rides, like, Haunted Mansion or Small World, stuff like that, those, Hollywood Studios is really lacking those rides. And that's what got us, I think, was that, we were standing there, and when my 15-year-old is, he's on board with all these rides and everything. When he's looking, he's going, I don't really, I don't want to be here. I would rather go back. And even he was like, I would rather, if we can get on Living with the Land or go ride Figment and stuff while we're waiting for Guardians, I would rather do that because he's like us, he doesn't want to just stand around or, go watch a show. He wants to get on rides, and he does appreciate, like, we, all three of us, we're all on those slower rides together.
Yeah.
And so, even he sees it he saw it, that he was like, there's a lot of great stuff here, but it's not worth standing around for. And even like even he said too, that it's just boring to look at. Like, sure. Like Hollywood Studios, the difference between, Epcot and Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios, and even Animal Kingdom, is like, even if you're walking around in any of the other parks, like, Magic Kingdom, there's rides, like there's things like the People Mover, there's stuff moving and happening. In Epcot, there's, you've got like the World Showcase, which is, I know it's, they're just, or it's not just pavilions, but it's like, there's shows going on. Like, you can stop and watch, like we actually,
Sphere.
Yeah. We came up on like the Jaminators were playing and we were like, cool. Like, stuff was happening. Hollywood Studios doesn't have any of that right now. Like they used to, like
they used to have like
they had the performers. There used to be stuff that would happen, but the problem is it's like, literally my son, like he was looking around. He's like, there's this big lake, with nothing, like there's nothing going on here there. And over to the side where Mickey Maze is, it's just a big open area.
Yeah.
And he was like, why are we here? Like, and when my 15-year-old was saying that to me, I'm like, yeah, okay, I think we need to get out of here. We need to go somewhere else because it's, none of us were enjoying it is the thing. And again, it's not to say that it's, that it's, people enjoy it. And, if it fits for your group, great. For my group, none of us enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Let's go ahead and do our ad, and then we'll talk more about this. But just really quickly, to your point, so I was just planning on my trip, right? Because we have, we don't have to do park reservations anymore, but of course we have to do dining reservations, and that's coming up in next week, right? So we were trying to figure out what parks we were going to do each day, and we're bringing 3 young kids with us, and we were like, should we even do Hollywood Studios? Like, because we're like, what are we going to do with like, a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old, and a 6-year-old there? Like it's just so like, I think
what are the in-between attractions, right?
And so I think what's going to end up happening is we're just the adults are going to go there after the kids go to sleep. Like the grandparents are going to watch the kids, and then the 4 adults are going to go back out and go to Hollywood Studios for the night, because otherwise we're just not going to go, because there's really not a lot for younger kids there. And like you said, the in-between rides, like that would be good for younger kids, and also for people that can't, ride the extreme rides. So I totally get what you're saying.
All right,
you've been talking for a while.
Then,
I'll give you a break on the ads since you've been talking. Yeah. So the sponsor of this episode is DVC Rental Store. DVC Rental Store, a World of DVC company, offers magical vacations at incredible value. Save up to 60% off retail rates at premium Disney resorts. DVC Rental Store now includes deposits as low as 25% at the time of booking, and a built-in cancellation policy for every reservation. And as always, DVC Rental Store pays out the most to members looking to rent their points. Want to learn more? Go to dvcrentalstore.com/welcome home or call 1-855-DVC-RENT. And when you do, please let them know that Welcome Home sent you. All right.
Okay. So
what else you got?
Yeah. All right. So let's, we're going to come back to fireworks.
I also want to hear about farts too.
Okay. Yeah. We'll talk. I'll talk about the fireworks first, and then we'll talk about our farts experience.
But you put it as farts experience, it makes it sound bad.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so we watched Luminous twice on this trip. The first time we honestly, so what we did was we were trying to stay near, like, that space in between where Spaceship Earth is and the lagoon, I know what you're talking about. Right, international,
that big open space that's right there where the store is there, and
yeah. So we hung around there. We found a bench there, and we were waiting for the fireworks. It was a bit chilly that night, which didn't help matters because we actually ended up having to buy hot chocolate to stay warm. We'd have sweaters and stuff, but we just didn't. We didn't plan on getting as cold as it did when we were there.
Yeah, I get that.
But so we waited for the fireworks, and we made a bit of a mistake the first time we watched the fireworks, that the bench that we found, it was looking out over the lake, but we weren't paying attention to where the actual,
where the
central, thing is now for Luminous. And so we were actually kind of half blocked by the store that we were sitting near, which again, we enjoyed it, but it was enough that, we liked the show. And the first time watching it, the hard part is that, there's a lot going on in the show, and you're kind of just all like you're just taking it in blindly, right? So
yeah.
So we watched it and we all agreed. We're like, yeah, that was a good show. The second time we actually we walked further down, so that was on the Tuesday night. On the Wednesday night, we went to Animal Kingdom in the morning. Not really much to talk about Animal Kingdom. Animal Kingdom is Animal Kingdom. So it's fine. Like there's nothing
anything
wrong
bad
with
about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. We had a great ride on Kilimanjaro, but then again in the evening we went back to Epcot again on the Wednesday because we all agreed that we wanted to watch Luminous again. But this time we went further down towards, we were in between Norway and China. And so we watched from the side there. And the nice thing about Luminous is that the show, or they got rid of the Stargate, so there's really no bad place to watch the show from. I was a little concerned, or the reason that we stayed by the international area the first night was that I wanted to see if Spaceship Earth was actually going to play into the show, which it doesn't. So
it doesn't,
so
which is surprising.
Yeah. So there was no synchronization between Spaceship Earth and the show, which actually was a better thing, I think, because where we were standing, I can get where, it has the same problem that the previous show had, that you end up trying to find like the optimal position to watch it.
Yeah.
That's not a thing. Like it's really anywhere around the lagoon that you have a good view of the lagoon is good. And
so they learned the lesson on from Harmonious.
Yes, they did.
Which you and I saw and we liked. We liked Harmonious.
Yeah.
Just the problem was the Stargate and the that you could only see it from certain spots. So
yeah, the positioning made it really, really awkward. But Luminous, they did figure that out. And I will say, according to my wife, who my wife is the gauge for me of like how good the shows are, because she. We all react to the shows, but I can always tell when she's getting emotional during the show, and she definitely. There was a point where both me and my son had our arm around her because she was getting emotional.
Yeah.
And the thing about the show is that I feel that it is a nice in between like a Happily Ever After type fireworks show and World of Color. Which I know you've never seen World of Color, but
I've seen videos of it, and it's funny because when we watched the video of Luminous, I said it feels like they're kind of trying to do a little bit of the World of Color stuff there.
They definitely are, and it definitely works. Honestly, it is in a tie right now for favorite show between Happily Ever After and that.
Oh wow!
Like in our family, we were discussing, and my wife was like, "I think I might actually like it more than Happily Ever After," and I'm like.
Wow.
Sure. Like,
sure
yeah, but no, it's a phenomenal show. Like it's definitely worth watching. And I would say for anybody that wants to watch the show, the key thing is just go find somewhere where you can get a good unobstructed view of the lagoon, because, we made the mistake of, trying to park on a bench and stuff like that. Don't just go find, go further around World Showcase. Anywhere around World Showcase is great to watch it. And yeah, just, we found it, or, when we found our space, we were kind of walking along, people were already starting to like camp out for it. It was about 45 minutes before the show. So it wasn't like crazy, like, you got to be there like hours ahead of time. But yeah, about 45 minutes before the show, we were walking along and we found a gap where there was nobody. So we just, walked up to the rail in front of the lagoon and we just claimed it as our space. And
that's what you got to do. That's what you got to do. Yeah.
And yeah, it was worth watching from there. And I think, I think Disney is, for people that say, Disney doesn't listen to people. I think this is a prime example of, like you said, between Harmonious and this, they realized that they missed the mark. And even the same thing with Enchanted and Happily Ever After.
Yeah.
Or Enchantment. Yeah. Sorry. Disney does definitely pay attention to this stuff and how it resonates with people. So, I think that's part of it is, if a show's bad, we have every right to say that it's bad. Like,
of course. Yeah.
Yeah. And when it's good, I think we should do the same thing. Like I said, I think Luminous is a great show. And I hope it stays around the same way that what was it called? Not Harmonia.
Are you thinking of Illuminations?
Thank you, Illuminations. There's so many different, like Harmonious, Epcot. I was like, what is the name of that show? Yeah,
well,
but,
especially once they add the drones to it.
Yeah, I almost said Wishes, but
Wishes.
Yeah, but this is the thing is I feel like this is one of those shows that has the potential like because of the music and everything, like it's Disney music, but it has a good message throughout it. Like it gets in your feels, which you want at Disney. It has the potential to be a long-standing show, and I think that's kind of what was missing around World Showcase was, they were trying a bunch of different things and it wasn't really hitting. That show definitely has the potential for me that, it'll get to the point where everyone's tired of it, like Illuminations.
I was never tired of Illuminations, Trevor.
Okay. But when my son watched it, he was like,
I know there's so many people that are like that with Illuminations and it breaks my heart.
Yeah.
All
right.
But that's good though.
Yeah. So to tie up the rest of my trip, because I know I've been talking about this for like an hour now.
Yeah, pretty much.
But I know.
Listen, it's a trip report. You haven't been in a while. I don't blame you. I'm sure people will enjoy this. So
yeah. So a lot of our time was spent mainly at Epcot. It ended up being the big park for us this trip because we found that. Or general observations are, Genie Plus is great, if you can pay for it, obviously. Like we found like the price of it, it fluctuated. I think the most I paid was $25 for one day. Yeah. But again, it was also the time when we were there, and understanding the reason that we went that week was because of my son's schooling, and I also knew like there was cheer groups going on and stuff, so it was busier overall than previous trips that I've been used to. So, having Genie Plus definitely does help with the busier times. I feel like like I said, I felt like, Magic Kingdom without Genie Plus when it's busy was very hard to navigate. It got to a point where it was like, even like Pirates was like 55-minute wait. So it was like, we ended up in that position where we went back to Magic Kingdom. Actually, sorry, I forgot to mention on the Thursday, we were going to go to Blizzard Beach. But when we got up that day, we talked about it. And again, I'm being mindful of my son because, part of this, or, we were doing this trip because, not just because of him, but, he's a big part of the trip. And he was like, I'm not really feeling like going to a water park. Can we just go back to Magic Kingdom? So we were like, okay. Fine. So we did Magic Kingdom again, Magic Kingdom in the morning. We went to Epcot in the evening, and that day was when it was really highlighted for me that it was like, showing up at Magic Kingdom spontaneously, it was very hard to get stuff done. And it wasn't that we didn't do anything. Like, we got on rides and we got to experience things. But Epcot definitely felt a lot more relaxed than Magic Kingdom when it was busy.
I get that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right.
Did you do Journey of Water? Did you do Journey of Water?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Journey of Water it's very much a kids splash area.
Yeah.
Like it's neat. There's definitely a lot of neat things going on there. We didn't spend a lot of time in there because it was full of kids, and I didn't, and I don't mean it like that. Like, it's not that I hate kids, but it was, the grown man getting into the playing with the water when the kid's waiting to play with the water. I didn't want to be that
kid. Get out of my way.
Move. I want to see the thing.
I want to do the wave thing.
Which we did. We actually did do the wave thing. It was very fun.
Okay, good.
We had one guy, like, you have to coordinate your movements to get, like, there's like a tidal wave thing that happens, and so it's very fun, very interactive place. It was always busy, like there was lots of families going in and out of there. Great on the days where it was warm. The cooler days when we were there, we didn't want anything to do with it because
I do want to see it at night. I don't know if you checked it out at night, but it looks amazing at night too. But
we saw it coming back, or so you can see it quite clearly from the monorail, right?
Yeah.
so we saw it coming in the one evening, and yeah, it's very pretty. And like I said, the only thing I would question is, whatever if it's a warmer day at night, I'm sure it'd be great to be in there. The day we were there, I think the low was like 13 degrees Celsius, which what is that in Fahrenheit?
Conversion? I don't know. We always have this problem.
Yeah. So, come on, Google, help me out.
we just have this
55.
55. Okay, so it's a little chilly.
Yeah. So on a day like that, yeah, you don't want to. You obviously don't want to be in there, but there wasn't like lineups or anything for it, which was kind of nice. Like it didn't. It seems like the initial hype of it is kind of died off. Like I know that they were like queuing people into there previously, but we just walked in and it was busy, but not overly busy to the point where you didn't want to be in there.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, we didn't spend a lot of time because, it was very clearly like it's a nice, back to the point about, in between attractions is, it's a great, like in between other things you can go there and visit, and, if you, let your kids blow off some steam and stuff like that.
And it's back to the old edutainment of Epcot too. It feels classic Epcot to me. So. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, no issues with it whatsoever.
Okay, sorry, continue. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to know.
No, all good. The last thing, we'll make food the last thing to talk about here.
There you go.
Because, we did a little bit of eating around the world. So I had some stuff from China. My son really enjoyed the was it the braised beef from Germany? I think it was. So those were the highlights for us. We did find that, when we started looking at it, the hardest part about eating around the world with a teenager, and Damon's touched on this before. He was, we started trying stuff, and then he was like, "Okay, that's great, but I'm hungry." Like,
I can't sit down and eat food.
Yeah. So we actually we had a couple of things, and then we ended up over at Connections Cafe, and
nice.
And the big thing over there was there was that General So chicken salad.
Oh, okay.
That my wife and son really loved. That ended up becoming like the main thing that they wanted to go for from quick service there. The overall feel of Festival of the Arts, or from a food standpoint, was, there was a lot of, I guess the like savory stuff it was okay, but I didn't feel like it was like the main thing there. It was a lot of like the rainbow cake and stuff like that was kind of like the big hits. Like we didn't have the rainbow cake, but like we walked through the Figment Pavilion multiple times, or not the pavilion, but the Odyssey, because that's where all the like rainbow cake and Figment popcorn bucket was. We didn't, or what we found was that we were looking for more savory stuff, but of course, with my wife and my son, they were a little more picky than I was. So like I went and, like I said, I got a couple of things from China myself, but we were trying to find stuff to split, and it was very hard to find stuff that we all could agree upon.
That you guys would all like.
Yeah. And then, my son being a teenager, he was like, "I'm hungry. Let's go to Connections." And we ended up, eating, we ended up determining though that I think Connections is probably the best quick service on property at the moment.
Really? Wow.
And that's also based on, so at Magic Kingdom, like, we did eat at Pecos Bills. It was okay. Pecos Bills, I feel needs some love, and I'm sure it's coming with, the Tiana stuff. I'm sure there's going to be some changes.
Been some heavy rumors that's going to turn into a Tiana restaurant. So
yeah, we did have the corn dogs from Sleepy Hollow, which they were good, but my son was not feeling it for some reason, or he was like, I don't know. I thought it was okay. It wasn't the same as the ones in Disneyland.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Disney ones they're still definitely better. It was definitely a good hand dipped corn dog, but it wasn't the best thing we had. And then Cosmic Rays was, again, okay. Like we kind of realized that like Magic Kingdom was like, from a food standpoint, it was a lot of okay stuff.
Yeah,
There
why is
wasn't
that about
amazing
Magic
stuff.
Kingdom? It's so funny about Magic Kingdom. Like it just has a lack of good sit downs and good quick services, right? Like they have
Yeah.
decent quick services, but there's none that like stand out. Like
But-
nothing like an Animal Kingdom, the barbecue place over there, like like you said, at Connections. Like there's just there's okay stuff. Like it's got some
and
pizzas,
even at
chicken,
that, like
whatever.
we ate at the quick service at Yak and Yeti in Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
Which again, that was great. Yeah, Connections. We ended up back at Connections a couple of times because again, coming back in the evening, it was like, well, what do we want to do for dinner? Well, we'll go to Epcot. We'll try. We were eating different things from Connections, and yeah, the General So chicken salad ended up being the favorite of all those because like we tried a couple of the different burgers and stuff like that. And yeah, like I said, as far as quick services go, I feel like Connections was the best food we had. Barring sit downs like Garden Grill and Prime Time.
And that was your only 2 sit downs, right?
Yeah, but sit downs I feel are like a different level. Like
of course.
Sit downs are I've not had a bad sit down meal yet. Not to say that there aren't any, but
yeah, I agree.
I haven't had a bad one. But yeah, for the amount of quick service places we had, and like I said, the eating around the world stuff, it sounded good on paper, but again, the biggest problem I found, and my wife and I talked about this when we got back too, is we're going to be hitting a point here where not immediately, but our son's going to stop coming with us because he's going to be doing his own thing, and so we're going to have times where we go where it's just the two of us. It'll be easier for us to do things like eating around the world when it's the two of us, because we can we're not nearly as picky as my 15-year-old is. So yeah, it's kind of a hard thing, and also I didn't want to be spending all my time eating at booths when having my family waiting for me because I wanted to get dumplings or something like that, right? It was, yeah,
I get that, yeah.
So so I think that kind of sums up everything that we did and everything I observed. I missed one last thing. My wife's gonna be mad if I don't bring this up. So we got walked off of one ride.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention this to you because I'm insanely jealous of this.
Okay, so all right, so what happened? So we got walked off of Spaceship Earth. And yeah, I know, we've been walked off of more rides. And I said this to my wife actually as it was happening. I'm like, Tom's going to be so mad because, he always wants to get walked off and it keeps happening.
That's top of the list too. I mean, top of the list.
So where we got stopped was, it was like right after the Egyptians scenes, like it was coming to like where the Roman scholars were. So we were stopped there for a little while. It took about it was an hour before we got off of the ride.
Oh wow!
And what I think happened because we got stopped and they're telling us all to stay in our seats, and then after a while, some cast members came up and they walked way past us, like way further up. We couldn't see where they went, and then they came walking back down with 4 people.
Oh, okay.
And I think what might have happened is I think those people may have tried to get out of the ride at some point. And so they were walking them back down the walkway, and then there was nothing again for a bit. We're told to stay in our seats, and then the lights came on, and then more cast members came up and started getting people off of the ride. So when the lights came on, that and I guess for anybody listening to this, this is spoiling the magic a little bit. If you don't want to hear this, skip ahead or skip the rest.
Skip this part. Yeah.
So I didn't realize how simple some of the stuff is in Spaceship Earth. Like when you're looking out, there's like the scene where you're looking out over the water kind of thing. It's just a sheet of plastic. It's
exactly
very simple. So, and we were coming back down and you could see it was things like around, spots where there's like stars and stuff. It's like felt, and you could see like the wires and everything. It's amazing how much of the darkness of the ride really hides a lot of the stuff.
That's why show lighting is so important.
The one thing that the one thing that it did hide very well was as we were coming back down the stairs, walking back down to the beginning, there was a very large spider tucked up in one of the corners.
Really?
Yeah, and my wife saw it and she was like, "Oh," and then she's like, "There's a spider." I'm like, "Where?" And I looked up and it was big, like more than an inch around.
Oh, wow.
Kind of big, yeah. And so I was like, "Ugh," and I kept walking. and the funny thing was, like we named it Aragog after, like Harry Potter, the giant spider, and it was funny that, we talked about it afterwards, and I thought about it and I was like, it kind of makes sense that there would be spiders in there because, you don't find bugs in there very often. And if any bugs that fly up in there, I'm sure that spider is just, taking care of them. And it's kind of a funny thing that, in Disneyland, they talk about there's the feral cats that take care of the mice, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it's the same kind of thing where it's like, they don't necessarily want to get rid of spiders and stuff like that because they're helping doing pest control. And again, like you said, stage lighting and all that, plays a part in that. When we went on it after that, it was like, I knew it was there, but I was like trying to ignore like looking over to that side of the ride because I didn't want to I didn't want to be like, oh, can I see it when the lights are down kind of thing. But yeah, it was very neat to see all of the effects and like, the animatronics, when the lights came on, the animatronics were still moving, but all the sound was gone. So all you could hear was just like the like stuff creaking back and forth and whatnot, which is very eerie. Like it's what you would imagine, when people talk about, if you got locked or, if you're locked in Disney after dark and, they shut everything off. It was that almost that kind of eeriness to it.
Nice, yeah.
But like I said, it was fun getting walked off there because, or for us, we were like, oh, this is a great new experience. But it's funny how other people be like, oh my gosh, that ruined my day or whatever. We were just like, yeah, this is great. I get to walk back down and see all this stuff. And I think I joked when we posted about it. I think I said it in Discord, and one of the Dans said that I didn't thank the Phoenicians, but I would argue that I thanked the Phoenicians twice because I thanked them on the way up and then on the way back down. So,
there you go.
Yeah. All right.
That's funny.
So all that said, I know we have other stuff to talk about here. So I think we'll stop. Or I don't
even know if we have time to talk about this stuff anymore.
Sorry, I kind of monopolized the episode, but
that's okay though. That's okay.
I think it was a lot. Like, it was a lot of stuff that, it's been a while that I've really gotten to experience some of these things properly. And the overall, like I said, the overall theme of the trip was everything went really smooth. Like, besides, I've talked about, things that happened that were weird. All those things aside, like they didn't dampen our trip at all. Like it was still just a very nice, smooth trip that kind of went the way that I expected for the most part.
Okay.
So yeah.
Nice. Well, that's good. I'm glad. Right. I'm glad it was such a good trip for you guys. It looked like you guys were having a blast from the pictures I was seeing.
Oh yeah, so. It was. Yeah, like I said, it was definitely compared to the previous trip. This one was 100 times better.
Yeah. Nice. All right, great. Well, so I'll actually give so thank you for going through all that. Mm-hmm. I was also away last weekend, but way less.
And I knew we did do an episode. So.
Yeah, I mean, way less exciting than yours. I was just up in the mountains, but I will say, and I posted this in the Discord, but not in the Facebook group because it's not something I necessarily want to, throw out there to everyone in the world. But, one of the things we did, we were up in the mountains and we did an alpine coaster, which is something I've always wanted to do before. And if you're not familiar, I know you're probably familiar with it, but basically it's just like they're using a mountain as
it's a gravity coaster.
Yeah, exactly. And you're just on the side of a mountain. Yeah, you're on the side of a mountain. It actually turned out a few of the listeners had been to this one because we have a couple listeners in North Carolina and we were here in North Carolina. So, but and part of the difference with these alpine coasters too is that you are in control of the speed, right? So like you have handbrakes and so you can slow yourself down or speed yourself up depending on how fast or slow you want to go. And I also enjoyed too that this place was pretty cool in that we had, we just had paper tickets, but they put like this sticker on it that had like an RFID kind of code in it, right? And the ride picked it up, the cart picked it up, and there was a camera, and it recorded us the whole time. And then when we got off, we just scanned this sticker at the end, and it showed us a video of what we just did and where we could purchase it. And I was like,
so almost like ride photos at Disney.
Kind of, yeah. But I mean, for like just like a little independent place like that to have that, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I will say it was a blast. We also went snow tubing, which, I don't know if I'm getting old or I'm out of shape. But man, snow tubing wiped me out, man. Like I was so
snow tubing's rough. It is rough.
Yeah. Yeah. I was tired after that. It was like, and plus, I was having to haul my daughter's tube around too. And like, so it was, and they have like the little escalator things that take you back to the top of the hill. But, it was just exhausting. I was like, hopping in the tube, and then when I got to the bottom, I had to get out of it, and it was like I had to roll off of it like I was, like a beached whale. Like,
now was it manufactured snow or was it?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was probably faster than like normal, or I get it's manufactured snow is slicker, so you'll probably go a lot faster on those tubes than
absolutely you
would on just a mountain course.
Yeah, so like we were pretty high up in the mountains, but at this point, I mean, it was in like the 50s that day, Fahrenheit, right? So it was, so like they just make their own snow up there. If it doesn't snow, I mean, it does snow up there. It's not like they don't get snow. They just didn't have a base of snow at the moment, right? So, but to your point, so they make their own snow, and so it's all fake snow floating around. But my daughter had a great time playing with snow because she really hasn't gotten to play with snow at her age, and she had some fun just playing with the snow. And of course she had fun, doing the tubing as well. I will say how I can relate this back to Disney is my daughter's been a little timid at rides. She's been a little bit timid at going on rides. And frankly, I didn't think she was going to do this alpine coaster, right? Because first of all, it has a very intimidating lift hill. It is a very long lift hill, and it was very like steep lift hill, right?
Yeah.
So, and I could see her freaking out about that, and maybe she was. I don't know, but maybe it's because she couldn't really see what we were about to go on. But she was pumped for it, and then afterwards, she wanted to go on it again. And so, for me, I'm like, this is great. Like when we go to Disney again, she's gonna go on some stuff now. Like because before, we couldn't even get her on Goofy. On the Barnstormer. We couldn't even get her on Barnstormer. Now, she went and did this alpine coaster. I told her, I was like, listen, kid, like that was a pretty fun. I mean, it was like 27 miles per hour it went, right? Which is not super fast, but Space Mountain fast.
That's still a pretty good clip for a coaster.
Yeah.
And that's like Big Thunder speed.
Yeah, I mean it's Big Thunder, it's Space Mountain, it's those rides go that. And that what I said to my daughter was like, listen, like nothing we go on at Disney is going to be more than that was, right? Like this is, you can do this stuff, right? So I think
until you get her on Tron, but
wow, I mean we're not going to do that. But she's not tall enough for Tron. Actually, I think that's one of the few things she's not tall enough. She is tall enough now for Avatar, though, for Flight of Passage, and I'm like, I don't even know if I should try that or not.
I think you should. I think that would. I mean, because the thing about that is you can explain like you're not moving anywhere, right? Like it's
yeah. But. I mean, she can pretty much go on everything except for, I think Tron and Rock and Roller Coaster.
Yeah, which are the two fastest rides.
Yeah, I think those are the only two. She can go on everything else pretty much because she's 45 inches now, right? So she's right over that 44 mark. So, but yeah, no, it was. I had a fun weekend too. Obviously, it was different than yours. You were traveling back, but that's kind of why we didn't have a show last week because Trevor was traveling back from Disney. I was away from the weekend for the weekend up in the mountains. So we just didn't, have time to do a show. What I will say, Trevor, is why don't we save this food stuff for next week? I do want to talk food since I am going to Flower and Garden Festival. I want to preview this food. So
for sure.
Yeah.
I feel, just back to, my own experiences, Festival of the Arts is not a food festival.
No, because it's only like 6 weeks. It's a short festival.
Well, and I'm sure we'll get into this next week is like I said, there was a couple of things that were good, but I know from going, because we'd gone during Flower and Garden when you and I were there.
Yeah.
There's way more stuff at Flower and Garden than there is at Festival of the Arts.
Yeah, like it almost builds up, right? Like it's like, a Festival of the Arts is like kind of small, and then it gets a little bit bigger when you go to Flower and Garden, and then of course it gets much bigger when you go to Food and Wine. Yeah, so yeah, I totally agree with that. But I definitely want to talk about this food since I will be going in 2 short months pretty much here, which is crazy to me. I haven't even bought tickets yet. I feel so unprepared. Not that I need to buy tickets
goodness.
now. What do I need to buy tickets now for? There's no reason to buy tickets now. I can buy them.
I guess there's no chance because as long as you're buying dated tickets, they don't fill up or anything.
Yeah, there's no more park reservations. So like, what am I worried about there? Like I got the room reservation was the thing I was more concerned about. So now that I have that, we're good to go.
Yeah. The lack of park reservations, or just one last observation on that, it is way less stressful now than when I did my previous trip. Like I didn't have to think about it at all, right? Like,
oh, that's good. Yeah. That's good.
That
oh my god,
better.
I'm just scrolling through. Oh my god, this makes me so happy. I just quickly scrolled through the food for Flower and Garden, and they have a booth this year called Brunch Cot, which I don't remember that being there last year. But
we'll have to see what it entails. Maybe
we'll talk about it next week because we wanted to get your trip report in. We can really quickly announce though, just to your point, you got to see kind of Tiana. They did announce that the Tiana's Bayou Adventure is going to open sometime in summer. They're giving us the opening season. We did also get a first look at the animatronics. I don't know if you had a chance to look at this, Trevor, but
I really wish that I had a reason to be there. Like, yeah, it looks good. Like I was looking at it, like I said, watching them fill it and everything. And I was like, I really wish I could ride this. Like,
cause it looks great. I mean, you probably saw what I saw. I don't know if you took the train around where you can see the queue, but like what they're doing to it looks amazing on the outside.
Yeah,
like
it does. We did take the train around. We got off at Frontierland. So yeah, I did see some of it. Again, still a lot of scaffolding, but it's going to be a huge difference from Splash Mountain. Like,
oh yeah.
And I know people have their nostalgia, but I'm excited. Like, I know it's the same ride, but I'm really excited to see how they make it better. Right. Like,
yeah. And I mean, like, listen, you're talking like you had leftover animatronics in Splash Mountain from like a previous ride, right?
From America, from not even a ride. It was
a show.
America Sings.
Yeah. It was a show. Yeah. So now you're getting the top of the top animatronics with this and multiple of them. Right. So they're saying there are dozens of new animatronic figures in here. And these are the top of the line ones. I mean, these are the ones that look really real, this Tiana one looks incredible, right? Like it's amazing how far they've come with them.
These are, remember when we talked about the Beauty and the Beast?
Yeah, exactly.
Ride in was it Shanghai or Hong Kong? I can't remember.
I think it's Shanghai, or maybe it is Hong Kong. I forget.
But yeah, remember we talked about those and we're like, man, that looks so good. And we're finally getting that. Like that's why I'm so excited to see how this plays out. And yeah, I wish I could go back again this year, but we're not going to be back again this year. It'll be next year.
That's understandable. Yeah. And unfortunately, it's probably, when they say summer, they probably mean like June, July. I'm going to be there in May. So I doubt it's going to be open.
Of course.
By May. But,
or maybe it'll be September and it won't matter.
They could also do that too.
September 29th.
The fact that they're already testing it, though, tells me they're getting there. They're getting towards the end here. So
that's true. I mean, I guess we don't know how much finishing and stuff needs to be done. Like I guess testing is one thing, but there's a lot of other stuff that has to go into it to make sure that it looks good.
That's true. So there's probably a lot more work that they need to do. But I'm glad that
after seeing Spaceship Earth with the lights on, I hope they're putting work into it and there's no they're going to do
well, they're supposed to do the overhaul on that thing. I hope that's included in that $60 billion, but I did see a rumor saying that they had no plans for that as of right now, but I hope they do need to do an overhaul on that ride. It is iconic and it needs to be done. So anyway, let's wrap it up, Trevor. Let's get out of here.
All right. Let's see if I can remember how to do this.
Just read the words and talk them into the microphone.
Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome. I'm always here for you. This is what I'm here for.
So yeah, as usual, if you guys want to reach out to us about anything on the show, you can always find us at welcomehomepodcast@gmail.com. We love getting your questions and, sharing your trip reports. We love hearing different points of view and all this stuff. So, you can always find us there. If you want to follow us on social media, you can find us on Facebook as Welcome Home Podcast. You can find us on YouTube as Welcome Home Podcast. And you can find us on Instagram as Welcome Home Pics. On Facebook, make sure you check out our group, Welcome Home Disney Waitlist, where things like all the trip report stuff that my wife was posting on her trip happens there. There's great memes that happen there. People talk about stuff on the shows. People ask, other people in the group for advice on their own plans, because we got a lot of Disney experts in our group and everybody's very chill. So if you want a good chill Disney group to join, come check us out. And if you'd like to help support the show, you can go to store.welcomehomepodcast.com and check out our different merchandise there. All kinds of shirts and fanny packs and great stuff. If you need some shirts for your next trip, make sure you check out the store. And we also have a Patreon, so you can support the show through Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/welcomehomepod. We got different levels of supporters for Patreon. Everybody who supports us through Patreon, though, gets access to the Discord server, which was something that, we've talked about. We do have other conversations on the Discord server, and it's a little more intimate than the Facebook group. And also, anybody who supports us on on Patreon gets the merch we have on there is exclusive to Patreon, so you can't get it in the store. So if you're on Patreon, you see something there, just support us through Patreon, because gets you cool merch too, which is a different kind of cool than our store merch.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's not better, it's different. It's all good stuff. I promise.
Exactly.
And last but not least, if you would like to leave us a review on iTunes, please do so. We love hearing your feedback on iTunes and Spotify. Leave us a 5-star review. Those stars help more people find the show because of the way the internet works. And, you want your friends to be able to see the show, and maybe you'll make some new friends because, if people find the show and you start talking to them in the Facebook group,
there you go.
That's because of us. It's not.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
You're welcome for us making friends for you.
Exactly. No, but seriously, we like, we like people to find the show because, people like listening to stuff about Disney. So, help us out by leaving us a review, because, it just helps get the show out to more people.
Yeah. So I do have a review all right. for us here. Is from Annoyed User 2013, which, I like it as a screen name. That's good. This says not a Damon Burner account, which makes me think it is more. Like, you tell me you're not. It makes me think it is more. Usually listen on Spotify and have rated there, but can't write review. But since we can't write reviews, I'm writing one here. Listen to the latest episode. Just want to echo the positive reviews and give kudos to the team in a universe where the majority of DVC content is sponsored and people feel beholden or even shill for their sponsors. I'm glad that Damon freely expresses opinions, whether they are popular or not. We try not to listen. We have a great relationship with our sponsors, but we do try to be honest about the things that we talk about. So, and It's not all about sponsorship and all about our sponsors. We talk about different things. So I'm glad you recognize that though too. So I look forward to listening to new episodes every Monday morning, although I could do without all the food talk. Again, you're just making me think it's a Damon Burner account. Anyway, so listen, the whole food thing is so polarizing, and I just don't know what the right answer is. I mean, we did that poll in the group, and it seemed like people like the food talk, some people don't. Who knows? Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to talk about food. Just accept it. It's going to happen sometimes.
Yeah. I'm talking about Brunch Cod. It's going to happen. So don't forget to subscribe to Welcome Home Podcast so you'll be reminded every time we release a new episode. You can find our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube Music, just about any podcast app that's out there. You can find us. Just a huge reminder to our listeners, Welcome Home Podcast is for entertainment only. We are not employed by by the Walt Disney Company, and as such, all opinions we express on the show are our own. So please consult a DVC cast member or Disney representative for more information about anything we talked about today. A huge thank you to DVC Rental Store for sponsoring this episode, and of course, World of DVC for being our continued supporters and sponsors. We very much appreciate it. Join us next time for more Disney Parks discussion. Of course, more DVC talk. We hope to see you all real soon.
This is Skipper Albert Awol, the voice of the jungle, signing off from Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Do a huddle when we hit a chair. How she can cuddle is no man's affair. I looked around from pole to pole, found her in a sugar bowl.